All right. I would like to thank you all for joining us for our inquiry, The Power of Poetry, featuring Tres Abuelas y una mamá. So for 2 years, once a week, three abuelas and one mama conversed around a table, sipping hibiscus tea, sharing stories, and writing. The Tres Abuelas are Maureen Seaton, Holly Iglesias, and Carolina Hospital, and the mama is Nicole Hospital Medina. The poems in Myth America are the joys of these get-togethers. Thank you, ladies, for joining us.
Great. Now, Rachel, thank you and Wendy at the Stockbridge Library for hosting our program. And no, welcome back. It's great to have you back reading with us. So, I've been busting on Carolina for half an hour. So, Nicole, we'll start with you. So, Nicole, what does inquiry mean to you? Yeah, there you go.
I mean, inquiry, I guess, is stems from, curiosity, questioning, questioning the status quo, I guess, specifically. Yeah.
That's fine. Carolina, how about you? What does inquiry mean to you?
Well, inquiry in general, I agree with Nicole. It's the ability to be curious, to be inquisitive, to be willing to ask questions, I guess. Not to take everything at face value, to look at things from different perspectives, wanting to pursue things beyond what's on the surface, what's the most obvious. I guess that's what inquiry in general, not necessarily, I'm not talking now about poetry, but just since you asked in general, inquiry, I think, to be inquisitive, to look beyond the obvious, I suppose.
Yeah, great. Holly, how about you? What's inquiry mean for you?
Well, what immediately comes to mind is, as a writer, as a poet, looking at the root words. Having been educated by nuns, that was like part of learning Latin, was finding out all the root words. And it creates a habit of, like Carolina was saying, digging beneath the surface. There's also something kind of sticking your chin out, challenging things, about not just taking everything as received wisdom, but chewing on it a little bit longer, spitting it out, reforming it, looking at it from a lot of different angles. When we started these poems, we realized, I don't remember when it was, but after like 3 or 4 of them, it was like we were doing all these how-to poems. And because it's going to be a chapbook soon, we're working on the cover for it. And so Nicole did our last cover for Myth America. And this one, I like old 50s, manuals on how to be popular, how to stand up straight. They were just a gazillion things for young women. And I think a lot of our poems in this collection are about turning that how-to on its head. Inquiring, like, why did I really have to stand up straight? And why was I expected to, whatever, kowtow to whatever. So kind of picking at things a little bit. That's what it means to me.
So, no, that's great. So I'm just going to go in reverse order now. I'm going to stay with you, Holly, for a minute. So when you're doing, when you're doing your creative writing, are you trying to answer a question, or what's prompting you to do that deeper dive or investigation? Is there an issue that you're trying to maybe resolve, or how does that work for you?
Well, I mean, I'm thinking of when I was on this alone a few months ago for the same theme of inquiry. I feel that as a historian poet, one thing always goes before the other and keeps going deeper and deeper and deeper. And so just like you have the root words, you have the roots of whatever event or development. And for me, my inquiry is to find the small object that tells the big story. For example, I have my grandmother's sewing basket, and I'm sure she started using it sometime around World War I when she got married. And it's got a bullet in it. Well, I mean, I could write forever about that bullet. I have no idea why that was in there. But when I put my grandmother, the sewing basket, and the bullet all in one place, it's not so much inquiry as it is following. There's just something curious that I want to find out what's going on there.
Yeah. No, good, good. Carolina, how about for you when you're doing some of your writing?
Well,
You
to
know,
follow up,
we've just heard from other people that, you know, sometimes there's some burning question, there's something going on in the news, or they'll lie. I'm just wondering, is there something prompting you, or is it just coming kind of organically, you know?
I guess there's e- different situations. So I would say for me, poetry is a place where, like Holly said, you can go to and ask questions that will force you to go in directions that may be unpredictable. Like, I think when I was younger, I thought I knew answers more than I think I know today. Like the older I get, I guess, the more I have, questions. I pursue inquiry more in the poetry, right? As opposed to writing a poem to just say what I think. I write the poem to figure out what I think, right?
Yeah.
Not only intellectually, but I think emotionally. That's my challenge, right? Like I'm a real analytical person. So my challenge is, well, how do I feel about that? Yeah, I'm really good at understanding and being analytical, but where's the emotional connection to this? How do I relate to this at a deeper level? So that is often something that poetry helps me in particular. We each have a different subjective relationship to poetry. That's for me very helpful. That's one aspect of it. And the other aspect of it is then, can I motivate the reader to also look at things a little bit differently, right? Let's see, like elicit more of a curious mind or a curious perspective in the reader. So for me, there's two components, right? Pushing me to dig a little deeper, but then also I would love to have the reader go a little deeper, or maybe not even just deeper, but different, like, an alternate experience from what you would expect. I don't know if that's clear, but
No,
I'm
it's
kind
great.
I'm kind of processing it right now myself.
That's good. That's the beauty, Kathy Haley, of not being scripted. You don't get to prepare. No, only kidding. No, it'd be good if you've chosen a poem, not now, but in a few minutes to read, that would be an example of, you kind of resolve something for yourself and you were, encouraging the reader or to have a reaction. It'd be good. So Nicole, how does it work for you in your writing? Are there things that prompt you, or, today, think of it, climate, energy, politics, the roulette wheel of issues. It would seem like there's so much stuff out in the air that could prompt you. What kind of, drives your creative process?
I mean, definitely inquiry, and like to echo a lot of moms' ideas. It's just sometimes you don't have an answer, and then by writing a poem about whatever it is that you're questioning, it can be kind of cathartic and sort of like nurturing. Like, okay, it's okay that you don't have an answer. We can just sit here and focus on this question. Like the question itself, like Mom said, it could take you in different directions, and maybe you'll get an answer, maybe you won't, maybe it'll ignite a reader's perspective and maybe they'll come up with an answer, they'll see it in different light. I've been described before as a poet activist, and I think that inquiry ties in with my content really well, just because when it comes to activism and injustice, sometimes you do kind of have this question like, why God? Like, God, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
And so when you have a creative outlet like poetry, It kind of gives you a voice in the world, a different, instead of just sitting there sort of feeling helpless, at least you feel like, you know what, I can put my question out there and see if other people can relate to this, or at least just have it out there in the world for people to consider.
That's great. It reminds me of, one of Rilke's quotes. If you stay with the question, maybe you can live into the answer.
Mhm.
And I always felt like that was just so mind blowing. Back then, it's like, just stay with the question. Don't worry about the answer. You've got to live into it. Yeah, that's always one of my favorite quotes. So we'll just hop around. So Carolina, is there a poem that you'd like to share with us?
Well, how about if we do some of our, if you don't mind, we can start with some of our collaborative.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Something that Nicole and I were talking about this morning earlier, before this program, was about how the inquiry tie into collaborative writing, right? And Holly kind of addressed the issue that this theme, the new chapbook that's coming out from Anhinga in the fall, it's called How to Get into Trouble. And it's got different things, but a big part of the book is poems that are all titled How to Something. So they're basically all about inquiry, right? But like Holly said, we're kind of challenging the traditional, right? So the traditional responses. And I think it might be fun to start with that. But Nicole, can you address a little, though, what we were talking about how collaboration also plays into the inquiry aspect?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so I think when we, am I on mute? No, okay. When we collaborate, it sort of makes the inquiry more dynamic or more multidimensional, because when you write a poem in isolation, you have the question just through your lens. But when you have collaborators, you may come into a meeting with that question and then be able to share the question with other brains.
Mhm.
And then the question either becomes more confusing or it brings more clarity, or like I said, maybe more multidimensional, and in that, wow, by having a conversation, then we can expand on the question or look at it through different angles. Because when you collaborate with people, they all have their different life experiences and their different value systems and their different styles. And so it kind of gives you a moment to put the question out there. I don't know. It's really pretty cool. It's pretty magical, right? Like you have this question and then you get to see people right away and then talk about it with them. And they're also poets, so they're also very inquiry driven. So it can just enrich, I think, the process a lot.
Right. I think so. Yeah. And even personally, like, as educators, we kind of aim for having this confidence of belief in something. But then when you meet other educators and poets and people like Nicole says that are inquisitive, then all of a sudden you said, well, wait a minute. Oh, Maureen thinks that, and Nicole thinks that, and Holly thinks that. Well, maybe I should address from that perspective, at least for a while, at least hold that question for a while, and it kind of, for me, it's helped me to like challenge myself more, because there's the educator part and then there's the poet part. And I feel that sometimes they play different part in our lives. Yeah. So anyway, so we could read a couple of those.
Wait, can I say one more thing though? What's interesting too about inquiry as writers is that sometimes we won't even talk about our questions. Like we'll just kind of put out and then that idea, or like poem that has inquiry, of course, because I almost feel like every poem is like a form of inquiry. But so Holly will read something and then we'll write and then we'll share what we wrote. So it's like we're all kind of almost in a way like loosely investigating whatever it is we just heard through the act of free writing. And so that's really exciting too, that by bouncing off of another artist, I don't know, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, we do, and we do that every week. So
yeah.
We go deeper and deeper.
We'll come in with a question and we'll have a conversation. Sometimes we won't even have a conversation. We'll just write, and then we'll share what we wrote about individually
before we even discuss it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that's another way of doing it.
Yeah. All right. So I guess we'll start with the title poem of the whole book, which is called How to Get into Trouble. And it's in they're in brief stanzas. So we'll alternate, all three of us. First
Well-
me, then Holly, then Nicole. Yeah.
And we're going to be reading Maureen's parts too, because normally Maureen would be reading with us.
Right. Right. It would be four of us, but and because we read a line, it doesn't mean we wrote it. Right. Sometimes we don't even remember who wrote what. Right. Right now we just have a finished poem and we're just alternating to, keep the dynamics going, but it doesn't mean we wrote it. Who knows? At this point, I don't even remember what I wrote from these pieces. All right. So the first one, how to get into trouble. Shout what you think. Act what you feel.
Raise the uniform hem above the ruler's rule, or wear short shorts, then tie your blouse above the waist so your belly button shows.
Talk politics. Some will call you communist, the others fascist.
Take an Adderall. Write a 22-page essay on Ezra Pound. Submit it to your professor without citing his book on Ezra Pound.
Be bipolar in the moonlight. Forget to howl. Go on the hunt alone. Rogue wolf awakens.
Do not make any decisions. Slide up the bumpy slide against the current of everyone. How annoying.
Watch what you say, or they'll be calling you a radical, liberal, fanatical, criminal. Roger Hodgson, 1978.
Depending on the type of trouble you plan to get into, drive down the street naked.
Speaking of getting into trouble in cars, drive into a lake.
Leave your room, leave your house, leave your neighborhood, your town, your country, your continent, your hemisphere, your people, your language, your music, your food.
Desire cake, the whole platonic ideal of cake. Want it so bad that your mind becomes a hive of hunger and your body a ravenous mass of desire.
Now that you've had your cake and eaten it too, surrender to the wiles of your foolhardy heart and go wherever she wants to go.
Okay, that's it.
So I'm not going to be coming down to Miami because I think Nicole will be driving into a lake. That's what I took away from that. Maybe that's a teenage experience. Remember, no actual stories. Only kidding. No, it's great. I'm like, yeah, I create a lot of chaos in my time. It's just a poem like that inspires me to like, Holly, what can I do to create trouble this afternoon? The show ends at 1:00. I got a good 4 hours to like bang on stuff. I don't know. I got to talk to someone else on the phone. No, I loved it. I loved it. It's just, I felt like it was like, yeah. No.
Thanks so much. Yeah.
When
Well,
they were talking about collaboration, I wanted to say that I am, of the four of us, the unwilling collaborator. I don't go toward it easily, and I spend a great deal of time resisting it, which is fruitful for me, actually. To talk about inquiry, like, why am I resisting this so much? And where I finally found a way in was, I used to be an actor and I loved improv. And the first rule of improv is accept whatever you're given. Like if somebody hands you this, you say, here's an elephant. You say, oh, thank you for the elephant. You just take whatever you're given. And then it becomes like playful. And that's what finally releases me from this, digging in, I don't want to do this. So I've had like a conversion experience about collaboration.
Yeah, Holly.
There's
So
also like you also have to kind of accept like a non-linear format. So like a lot of the how-tos work well for not worrying so much about narrative because you're making a list. So sometimes like the list poems in collaborative format can be a lot of fun and lend themselves to surrealism. And then like when you make these kind of list poems, almost like each item can inspire an inquiry. Like if you sit with the piece in front of you, you can like almost go through the list and spend
Yeah.
some time with it. You know, when you hear it out loud, it's kind of like a cool ride you're going through, you know. But then when you're actually looking at it, you can really see what is each line requiring, you know.
That's a great point, Nicole, because yeah, each line goes in an unexpected way and also challenging. Many of them are challenging expectations when you're growing up of how to be a good girl kind of thing, you know. So this one, I'll take you even more out there. This one's called How to Make a Moon.
How to make a moon?
Yes, How to Make a Moon. So this is our version. This is our suggestion, our inquiry on how we can make a moon. So here we go.
I love it. I love this.
The easiest way is to get pregnant, but not everyone can do that.
Drag a cot into a field on the night of Lunasa. Lie down upon it and pull a wool blanket up to your chin. Place the 7 of discs under your pillow.
Fall asleep under no circumstances. Feel the blanket of dew begin to settle on your face, your hair, the blanket, the earth beneath you.
Wait, eyes open.
After you've eaten a huge meal of tacos with lots of guacamole, sit beneath the linden and sleep. Your dream will rise to the east above your neighbor's house, where there are 3 sweet boys named Demetrius, Amadeus, and Titus, and you will see a sudden round light moving slowly toward Orion. This will be the moon, perhaps the moon. Either way, you will both be full.
Blow bubbles for your granddaughter and watch as the biggest one flows toward the sky.
Picture circles and light outside on your hammock.
There's the possibility of paint and other materials. Crafting a light with white or yellow, a string. Tie this outrageous object to your belt loop. Drag it around until it gets dirty enough to have a lifeless landscape.
Call upon a fairy who is yourself. Ask them to float around and wonder, doubt, believe, laugh.
The orbit is restless.
Clear the path to the east and throw a ball the size of a moon into the sky.
Ask Alexa to play Tangerine Dream's Crimson Moon. Since crimson is already taken, as is blue, you take green. Although right away you realize a green moon might look better around. A green moon might look better around
Saturn, which has 83 moons already. Now feel as if you're part of something bigger than you, something planetary and moonful, celestial and poetic. Write a poem about your moon. Voila.
Voila.
So that's a lot of fun. That one was particularly a lot of fun. Just inventing that, all those images. And I think we'll read one more and then we can talk some more. But this one is actually the last poem in the whole book. And it's called, it's not a how-to, just to have a little bit of change. It's called Love Proves Fierce. Okay? Love Proves Fierce. All right. Love proves fierce, urgent as spring melt washing away ice-snap branches, the carpet of last year's leaves, cups left by the fire circle atop the ridge.
Where the sun and the moon wrestle each morning for the sky. Fighting is necessary in order to claim victory, something like mating
for birth. There's ocean too, and its reflection, held up by a gentle caring for the earth. Too many sea dragons beneath the surf to feel safe.
The choice, to surface through the waves or dive to the ocean's floor. Air, coral, salt, white, aquamarine, indigo.
There is a way to stay under if you choose. Suddenly, there is a way to never come back. Excitedly, love joins in on the revelation, taming
dragons and wild anemones. Octopi welcome harvest, and we remember it is spring, time for new yield.
And we are in spring, so an appropriate ending. to the poem.
Nice, beautiful, beautiful. So we do something a little different this season. We take a little audience interaction break, and we have the audience ask some questions, provide some comments. So I'm gonna see if Kathy, well, we got Kathy and Kathy, so we got two Kathys, or Sonora, if they have a comment or a question, or Taylor. I don't know who Taylor's iPad is, so. Anybody have questions or comments?
Who knows?
I
Yeah.
can, if you'd like. Well, first, I just want to say how wonderful it is to hear the lists of images, the way that they go together, even if they, started out to be separate. And I'm fascinated by the idea that you're just reading however you decided to read, rather than, almost treating it like reader's theater rather than reading the lines that you created yourself. But I have a question that has to do with your writing practice and your meetings. And I wondered if you had connections, since you're educators, with the National Writing Project.
No, Holly, no, no, not me, no.
It's just interesting to me because I have been for many years and also an educator, and just that idea of free writing to start a meeting is so effective and something that we practiced regularly in workshops with the National Writing Project.
Oh, okay. Well, it's great. I used to do it in my classroom too.
Me too.
So, yeah.
Wonderful.
I find it, it was so hard at the beginning for me when we started doing it. The idea of kind of that trust, like someone would read something and then we would write and then we would share, but it was always like optional, but you always felt the pressure to share because everybody else shared. And it was really scary for me, like maybe for a whole year. We've been doing this, I think like 7 years, right, Holly? I can't remember the exact number, but it took like a whole year before like I kind of relaxed into it because I was so nervous, like, oh my God, this is unedited, unscripted. Oh my God. And I would spend some of the time fixing what I was writing before I read it. And I remember, I think it was either Holly or Maureen that said to me, don't do that. Don't do that. Just write. Don't worry. Just write, And, but yeah, it's been 7 years and now I don't worry so much, but I think it's such a wonderful practice to even just gain confidence. And besides the whole inquiry thing, to kind of loosen you up and let your, let your thinking part rest and just go intuitively.
Absolutely, because you find out things that you would never have thought you'd write about, and that's what leads to the great poems, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, thank you.
No idea what's going to come out. None.
Yeah.
None. You start here and you end up over there. It's like,
I know. And what's amazing is, like Nicole was saying before, that from one poem we get 4 different total perspectives. It's pretty amazing.
Great.
So.
And I was going to say something that I'm retired now, but when I was teaching poetry workshops, particularly to undergrads, it's almost the opposite of the free writing. I was convinced that everybody had so much hubbub that they really needed to just let it go in order to enter poetry. And so for like the first month when the class would start, the lights would be off, they'd have their eyes down, and then they would be quiet for like 3 minutes, which was torturous at first. You'd say, how long do you think that was? And they'd say 10 minutes. I was like, that was 2 minutes, my friend, 2 minutes. And then now write down everything that was in your head. And he's like, blah, 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 I got to go to the store. I didn't need to tell my boss. I said, whatever you need to do to just let that out and get here ready to open to this, look at all the stuff that's in your way. And then it became, people would ask, can we do this for like 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Or 6 minutes.
Yeah.
So the quiet helps, I think.
Yeah. So Kathy Rosenfeld, have a question?
Hi guys.
Yeah. Hi, thanks for coming.
Okay, it's a pleasure. Hi, Nicole. Hi, Holly, even though I don't know you.
Hi.
Okay, here's my question. When you're doing collaborative work, do you ever pause and think or say to somebody else, I'm not so sure that fits with the rest of what's going on here? Or do you just accept what the different poets have to say?
I don't think I've ever heard any prohibition. It's always been acceptance.
Yeah.
I have to admit, I bit my tongue a lot because I didn't know what we were doing. I was uncomfortable with it, but I knew more than to, because the other people are like pretty much drinking the Kool-Aid, having a great time. I'm like,
I
oh,
think because we all came to it as published poets, we kind of have this respect for each other's creation. Now we do like suggest like, oh, you think maybe this word might work better than that word, or
Oh,
maybe
you do say stuff like that.
yeah, we might say, oh, maybe a little comma here might help to clarify, or if we had a question like, what do you mean? But other than that, those kind of little comments, I think we most generally just accept what especially in the collaborative part. I mean, we do workshop our own individual poems as part of our weekly workshop. So that's a whole different thing, right? But in the collaborative, we're very accepting. In the workshop, sometimes we make comments like this isn't working or you need to go back and work. So it depends on what we're doing at the moment. But in collaboration, we're pretty accepting.
Plus Nicole's there, mistress of the screen, writing. I mean, she's like processing all this stuff and we're looking at the things fly all over the place. So there's kind of this kinetic element of it also. And then you'll pick up a whole block of text and move it somewhere. It's like whiplash and wow, look at that. Like, yeah. Collaborative is very different than when we bring our own individual work though, for sure.
Right. That's what I was wondering. Okay, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Wait,
Go
can I
ahead.
say one more thing? Sorry. When we do also to answer Kathy's question, I think that sometimes we won't make notes. Like for example, with the how-tos, we give each other like homework assignments, like, okay, come in with 3 lines for how to make a moon. And then it's almost like a quilt where we would put the lines together. But then like when Holly was talking about like the master of the screen, I would screen share. And then that's when we would kind of make more notes on the individual lines. But by then we've already almost like relinquished ownership. So it doesn't feel like somebody's like, nitpicking your line. It feels more like, hey, this line that we now have as part of our poem, we need to move it a little bit here and maybe make it past tense so that it fits in with the flow and becomes more cohesive. But in a way, for me, it's like when I bring in the lines, like that's it. Like they're not really mine anymore for me.
That helps me understand that better, like relinquishing ownership.
Mm-hmm.
That like really clarifies it.
Yeah.
It's almost like a psychological thing. Once you put it out there, it's no longer, your creation alone. So.
And we get to know one another's aesthetics and their, themes of concern. So when you're at home writing your stuff, you think Maureen's going to hit this out of the ballpark. She's going to take this one and just go pow with it. Or Carolina's going to come in with, something at the beach and there's going to be sea glass. And so I'm like laying this bed of grass and sand around it. So when the sea glass comes in, we're ready. Let's have it. I mean, we really do have our things that we keep repeating. And Maureen is like the queen of just weird whimsy.
Voila.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this: in the collaboration, are you? Does anyone writing at home decide to? Let me throw a bomb into this week's session. Where you just got some crazy lines. Oh, look at Holly. Holly just immediately raised her hand. It's like it's all of a sudden. Oh, let me get the group.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's fun. I've done it with the format. Like once I brought in a real different kind of format and everybody was like, whoa, what is that? But it's just fun once in a while, Right. But anyway, if speaking of the individual poems, we can do a couple of, you want us to do that?
Yeah, I just want to ask a couple list individual questions. So Nicole, you said you were a poet activist. What does that mean?
I mean, I feel like I think when I was younger, I think I was more hardcore, like into like everything I wrote was like about injustice, and a lot of like, people would describe me as like a feminist poet. I think I was going through a lot of personal healing too. So like by addressing pain, and I was like addressing my own pain. But the thing is, now I became a mom within the last 5 years. And so now a lot of my content has shifted, I think, more into like inquiry into some of the aspects of my life and more individual experience. Does that
But
answer
you,
the
could-
question?
Yeah,
but you
yeah.
could say you are a mother activist. I mean, there's activism.
That's
in-
true. I mean, I think there's feminist undertone, you know, within there. Oh, I forgot what I forgot what the first question was, what the actual.
How,
think
why
I
do you
Yeah, poet
define yourself?
activist. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
poet
Oh,
activist.
yeah, because I can't help myself, like you said at the very beginning, John, how there was just so much going on in the world. It's almost like, how could I resist, like, writing about something going on in the world that feels
Yeah.
not fair.
And our first
Fantastic.
collaborative poem was in response to a call for submissions to a book of poetry against gun violence.
That was a myth in Myth America, the first
Yeah.
chapter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the first one we did.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, so read some individual poems, Carolina.
All right, I'll read one of mine and then I'll read one of Maureen's just to feel her here. But I was going to say that besides the how-tos, the new chapbook is going to have also, instead of poems that are written collaboratively, we have collaborative themes. So for example, one of the themes we picked is at 16, right? So the two poems I'm going to read, the first one's mine and Maureen's, are both from that section where each of us wrote about being 16 years old, right? So that's the other way that we did, the other strategy that we use for the new chapbook. So anyway, here's mine. Refracted. At 16, life was a black and white film washed in shadows. Vested uniform and stale homework, parents at war abroad, hearings and resignations. I planned to make my way alone, but without waves, is there an ocean? Without moon and night? You came, pockets stuffed with colors. Slowly you released them, and I held each one up to the light. So that's mine. That's my inquiry into where my life started from, especially my married life. I'll be 47 years married next month in July. And if you had asked me at 16, I was probably not going to get married or not get married till I was 30. And then by 18, I was married. So then this is kind of my inquiry into, in a very, literary, lyrical way, into how did I get from there to there, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, it was fun. And then this is Maureen's Portrait at 16 by Maureen Seed. I was not a prodigy. I was not even a whiz kid. But listen to that glissando and tell me I wasn't cool. I was 16 years old, my best friend beside me, her two right hands and my two left in a wild duet, the kind of feat that makes an audience go wild. We were so famous the nuns let us out of English and gym and even mass to practice Gershwin. Think about the Rhapsody in Blue in the hands of two shy kids who both wanted to be nuns, although neither of us went on to wear a habit or rock the world. Think about it. Best friends at a piano before hundreds of New Yorkers. How it must have changed our DNA a little, pointed us in the direction of magic and even miracles, and finally, the way we learned that together we could do anything. Okay, so that's just sharing two of our 16 poems.
Mine is
Nice.
16 also.
Oh, you picked 16 also? I didn't even tell you. So coincidental.
Yeah. I
See,
was
that's the collaborative spirit.
I was 16 in 1965, and it was quite the year for politics in America. And I often write from documentary photography. So this very long, skinny poem, which for me is weird because I write prose poems, is in response to several issues of Life and Time magazine. And the epigraph is from Diane de Prima's Revolutionary Letters. The title is Bittersweet 16. The imagination is not only holy, it is precise. It is not only fierce, it is practical. The trouble with life, and with time too, was the same trouble as with E.E. Cummings. All too quick, too spare to give each thing its weight, so you no sooner saw an ad for petal pink nail polish than you faced the photo of the dead pilot bleeding onto the floor of the chopper, onto his buddy, nearly dead, but still clutching his rifle, his cheek resting against the barrel, and next to it, an ad for tropical Jamaica, white bodies baking by the green, green sea, no blacks anywhere, except Malcolm on the next page, his life draining out onto the floor by the lectern where he was speaking only moments before, now a boy blowing his breath, his last hope into Malcolm, exhaling into his mouth this image, black and white, like all images, except on the covers, like the one on my birthday. Garish red against matte black, no picture, just 3 words. Is God dead? And because I turned 16, turning the pages of time and of life, I was sure I knew the answer.
Wow. Nicole, did you write a 16 one?
I did, but I wanted to read a different one. Well,
Yeah, read a different one. Go ahead.
but it's also from the book. And Mom, I can't remember Orange Beak. What's actually, I didn't recall why Orange Beak. What was the theme for that one?
Well, read it and then we'll remember.
Was it colors? I don't remember.
Oh, yes.
But
we
yeah,
have a section on colors. I think
the
that was it.
section on colors, yeah, from the chapbook, yeah. Okay, so this is called Orange Beak. Okay, it is hard to open and close, open and close, open and close. I open for a poem. It's like prying open a pit bull's locked jaw. I might be tired or scared, or maybe I just want to experience normal and not poet. When the jaw does tear, it feels good to let my tongue hang out and take a breath. Open. The dead bird we saw on the shore, snow fluff feathers, and a bright, clean carrot beak. She looks so fresh and perfect, like my old dog, who was also too beautiful to die. It drew my daughter away from the sparkly sea foam to a place she never felt before, asking, "What happened to the bird, Mama?" All the way home. Rose quartz sky, cold, low tide, white feathers, black feathers, orange beak.
Powerful. Fantastic. Fantastic. So let's have, we have one more little mini audience interaction. If anyone wants to ask a question, I always do a little 2 of these. Kathy or Kathy 1, Kathy 1.0 or Kathy 2.0. If you have another question you want to throw out there, you don't have to.
She may have forgotten to take her hand down, her little.
Yeah, she's, yeah.
Oh, I did forget to take my hand down, right?
That's it. Kathy, you'll be banned from the next poetry session because
Okay, wait a minute. I'll ask Nicole.
your illegal use of Zoom.
I was tearing up at your poem, I have to admit. But what did you answer June when she said that to you?
Oh my God, what did I answer June? I think I just like told her the truth. Like I was just like, that bird got died and
Oh
washed
God,
ashore.
I'm traumatized.
Yeah, I wrote that. Yeah.
June is, tell them that June is your 5-year-old. Yeah.
Oh yeah, June is my 5-year-old. Yeah, and it struck her. I mean, I think it was the first time she saw death, like so graphic and also gorgeous because the bird was so beautiful. It was this beautiful, beautiful bird, and to just see it like strewn on the beach, like
Oh,
There's June. I see June.
June! There she is.
oh boy. Oh boy.
That's my
Okay.
husband there.
Now we're gonna do some
Oh, good.
orange beak
Hi,
fact
say hi,
checking.
June.
Yeah.
Hi, June.
Oh,
Oh.
There's another question. There's another question.
Chelsea. This is Chelsea.
Oh,
I'm just telling a story about you. Okay.
Okay. Hi.
Well done,
bye.
guys.
Bye.
Look, there's another question in the chat, guys.
yeah, Sonora had a question. How do you decide your book themes organically and then decide to write a book, or decide to write a book and then decide the theme? Uh-oh.
Yes. Yes.
We're gonna get extra points here with this question.
I think the new book, we decided on how-tos, that's for sure. Like we did a couple and we really liked it. We thought, wow, this is really fun, like the how-tos. So after a few of them, we said, wow, we could do a book with this. This is like really great. So, but then we decided, well, a whole book of these might be overwhelming, to be honest, to the reader. So then we said, let's sprinkle something different. Let's do something different. And then we decided on these themes, right? And we came up with them first. Like we would say at 16, it'd be fun to write all of us about something that happened to us at 16. Or we would pick, like Nicole said, colors, right? And we each brought a poem. The only criteria was we were emphasizing a color, right? And I forgot what some of the other themes were. I don't remember if you remember, Holly, but those were two of the themes that we picked. So that's how it worked, right? The how-tos were not thematic. The how-tos were more format.
Mom,
But
tree with a tree.
Oh, tree, right. We had one that, as long as we had a tree in it, right? So that's
And
how
that one was so informative to me because I immediately went to the root word. And the root word of tree is triau, which is Old English Germanic, which also, in addition to tree, means truth.
No.
So then I was off with that because part of
Oh,
what
boy.
I get out of writing in this group is because two people are native Spanish speakers. I'm a Anglo-Spanish speaker, but I'm illiterate. I can't read or write Spanish. So I find that I am hitting Anglo-Saxon words even harder than I did before because it's a different way of writing, but I'm much more aware of it. So when I find a word like tree equals truth, I'm like, oh, okay, got it.
Well, the how-to book, this time of year at LLB, and they always have the survival guide in the woods book, or the macho men's guide to cutting down a tree with a jackknife, all the really helpful stuff in Maine. So, maybe your how-to book needs to, get up here to Maine. I love it. How to be 16, how to, a lot of good stuff there. What was it? How to create trouble or chaos? Was it trouble?
Trouble.
You also
Holly,
have how to pray because when you get in trouble, then you really need to be able to pray also. So
Yeah, we have one coming up. If you want us to read a couple more, we have one coming
yeah,
up. Paul.
absolutely. I know, absolutely. Yeah, I'm going to be buzzing on that trouble thing for a month.
be looking for the chapbook in the fall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, but this one's called How to Pray. And I guess we need that right now in the world and in our personal lives. So here's how we start. How to pray. Say the words your mother taught you, which her mother taught her, which came on a boat from Ireland.
Or Cuba, or Ukraine.
Nicole? Oh, did she freeze?
Frozen?
No, she
Uh-oh.
She
All
went.
right, so you and I will go back and forth.
Okay. She'll probably come back in. Sometimes that happens and she has to come back in. All right. So we'll start again. Say the words your mother taught you, which her mother taught her, which came on a boat from Ireland.
Or Cuba or Ukraine.
Worship the vision of your toddler sleeping, the light from the TV, the shelter of a sofa.
Keep candles lit, relics close at hand, holy cards in rotation on a small wooden stand.
When the light creeps in between the blinds, rise with the sun.
Reach for your youth and repeat mercies that comforted you then.
Dread not the fever, the cough, the pain. Instead, heed the angel at your window pane.
Ask for forgiveness in the shower, water on the back, water on the face, fronds kissing the frosty window naively. Tell no one.
Sit in the oldest tree and ask her to pray for the world.
Listen to the cottonwoods, the way sound rises from their roots, then moves on mournfully to the mountains, to the sky.
Sit with the sky without a word. That's it. Nicole, you're back?
Yeah.
Okay, good, good. Thank you.
Let's do how to dress like a poet.
Yeah, so Nicole, you can join us. Okay. All right. How to dress like a poet.
Oh boy, this will be the good one.
Yeah. Include a hat with a brim so wide, everyone's awkward moments can comfortably sit on it.
When performing, create an ensemble of black, pants, shirt, shoes, with perchance a spot of color in the socks.
Choose bling earrings that don't match, preferably made of sea glass.
When zooming beyond a certain age, turtleneck, turtleneck, turtleneck.
Wear a t-shirt that screams recycle or die, cartoon mouth expansive and open.
Adopt style, suede, rust, aromatic.
If you were red, don't forget to think about the very last red bird. It was 1947. There were red birds everywhere. Cars were scarce and slow.
When composing, compost in a metaphorical bathrobe.
Sorry. Wear that blouse that makes you feel alive. Beware of clearance racks at the back of the store.
Port Fire Island style, surfer shorts and aloha shirts.
Emulate Ann Sexton, Ann Waldman, Ann Bradstreet.
Never carry a purse.
Oh boy, now we have we should be calling up the American Academy of Poets and get this out there for, the new
Future
guidelines
poet.
for 20. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Holly, you're going to love this, and Nicole, Carolina. So on June 29th, we're doing a little something different. We're having a poet interview a poet. I'm going to be in the background more, but part of the poem is a story about Filene's basement. So that was this big, crazy discount place in Boston where, mainly women used to go and basically fight over clothes. It was better than watching wrestling on TV. Having two women try to grab the same dress or something. No, it was like crazy time. Sometimes people would get arrested in Filene's basement for starting something. So I'm liking this poetry wardrobe thing. So we only have time for maybe one more, sharing poem if you can do that, because unfortunately our time is up. So are you going to be up anyway?
So you want to go to how to talk to the past and end with that one?
Talk to the future.
How to talk to the past?
Oh, I don't know.
We got the future or the past. Which do you want?
I thought,
Let John pick. Let John pick. Future or
That's what I'm
past.
saying.
I
Yeah,
know, listen, I'm working on talking to the past.
okay.
The future's too big a question mark.
All right, let's end then with how to talk to the past. All right. How to talk to the past. Draw a line in the sand. You need to establish boundaries before you introduce it to your present.
It would be nice to forget coherence. Look at it all through a Jim Morrison lens. Nope, listen to the story. That's what it is.
Look down into the well of memories with a moon stir. Forget coherence now.
Approach with respect, trepidation, stand still, braced.
Speak coyly, ask short questions.
Avoid the declarative and imperative at all costs.
Say, when I was down, you stood there grinning, Bob Dylan. Say, rockets are cool. There's no getting around that, Elon Musk. Say, I am fucked existentially. I am fucked existentially. I am fucked existentially. Dial in.
Tell it to fuck off, then apologize and beg for wisdom.
Best to visit late at night. Discuss all the details, not just the ones you remember. When possible, read original letters and journals.
Search the internet for black and white photographs that tell the stories. Now ask your questions. And what a perfect
Fantastic.
ending for a talk on inquiry, right?
Yay.
Ask your question. I love it. Oh no, this is so special to have you on our show. I wish Maureen well and how she's feeling.
Yes.
And no, this is great. There's such a power when you have a group of poets collaborating like you do, where you're basically, throwing your lines into a bucket so everyone can own it and embrace it and change it. To me, that's just an amazing process.
And
But
thank
no,
you,
I love it.
John,
I
for
love the
doing this
how-tos.
series.
What's
Oh,
that?
thank you.
I want to say thank you for doing this series.
Oh no,
It's
this
an
is,
amazing gift to a lot of us.
oh
Far
no,
and
it's
wide.
great. Yeah, this hour is just so special every week. It really is, because part of it is, it's like we're having a conversation and then poetry gets sprinkled in. And,
Yes.
obviously, Carolina and Nicole are sisters. We debunked that mystery. That was good. I got that out of the way. No,
Somebody,
really, listen.
John, somebody was asking about the second collection, and I just wanted to clarify that Inhinga Press will also be publishing the second chapbook. They published Myth America, our first one, and they're going to be publishing the new ones called How to Get into Trouble. They're in the fall. Okay? I put it on the chat, but I wanted to clarify that. Thank you for
How to
asking.
get into trouble. I think I'm going to carry the how to get into trouble like inside my shirt so I can reference it at any point in time. Holly said to go to page 23. I love it. Now listen, thank you for just sharing your gifts. This has been a beautiful hour, and
Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks.
I love you all. I appreciate you. This has just been such
Everybody.
a joy. So we'll talk to everyone soon. And
All
I'm going to
right.
look forward to getting the book. I got to negotiate with the past, then I got to create more trouble. Carolina, I've got a plan now.
Great. All right, guys. Thank you for
Yeah,
coming.
right. Yeah. Hey,
Bye.
Rachel, I think you can stop the recording now, Rachel. All
All
right.
right. Bye.
Take care. Take care. Yep. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.